I did want to give a quick overview of my impressions on the 32S2. Now, I don't claim to be an expert on HP calculators by any means. I've owned, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them or something, but I've not had time to deal with all of them. But as I understand, this calculator was a expansion of the old 32 calculator. You can see that it added an extra shift key instead of this arrow key. It moved the arrow keys up here, and then it added a whole lot of functionality with that shift key. And some of that was buried in menus here before, but it made it more readily accessible and just added some things. So I really do like the 32S2. Before this, the calculator that I would say was the most similar to it was the 35S that I used. And I used that primarily for the PE exam, and once I'd used that, I stopped using it from then on after. I much preferred the 42S to the 35S. So it has just about everything you need and not a whole lot that you don't. I really like, similar on the 35S, and I think this is an advantage over the 42, is the equation editor. So just being able to go to an equation and enter in something like x equals 45 times pi plus OA. Now I do wish on the equation editor that you could edit any portion of that equation. Currently you have to backspace to the portion that you want to edit. That is an advantage that the 35 has with its directional keys. But it's better than the 42. I really like entering in algebraic mode, personally. When I'm programming, I have no problem entering in RPN, but when I'm entering an equation, usually I have an equation in front of me and I want to enter it in algebraic mode, honestly. I like all of the quick conversions that you have here on the keys, the polar rectangular, the hours, minutes, seconds, which I use for latitude, longitude all the time, centimeters and inches, centigrade, Fahrenheit. So I use a lot of these conversions pretty regularly. One thing that I don't really care for about this calculator as well is how it handles complex numbers. So the stack will only accept rectangular, and if I want to add 2 complex numbers together, I have to enter in the imaginary first, and then the real part, which kind of seems backwards to me. I understand why it's that way. You have the x and the x stack, and the y portion of the stack. But then if I want to enter a second number, then I have to enter the y portion of that, and then the x portion of that. And then if I want to do a complex operation on it, right now there's just 4 numbers in the stack. You go to complex and then decide what you want to do. So I want to add those together. Well, that's the real part of my result, and the imaginary part of my result is up here. Whereas on the 42, I could just demonstrate that real quick. I can go 2, enter 5, I don't remember the numbers I used, and change that to a complex number. And there I have 2i5. And then my next number, 2, 6, complex number. And now I've got those in the stack. And if I want to add those, I just add them. And then I get my result. If I want to change that, I can do it in polar. I just change my mode to polar mode. It'll do the conversion for me, and I can also write new numbers in polar mode. Sure, it's extra keystrokes, and maybe that's why one reason why they had it this way, besides only having 1 line in the stack. But after using the 42S, I find myself a little bit spoiled. But again, this is a really nice calculator. It's got the programming features. It doesn't have a whole lot of memory. It only has 300 and something bytes, but though I've not entered any long programs, I haven't run out of memory yet. It's got numerical integration. It's got the solver. It's got just about everything that I would use. There's some things that would be nice to have that are nicer on the higher end 42S, but in general, this is a really good basic scientific calculator.